Here we are for another interview at the Staking Summit 2023. We are joined by Sebastian Banescu, CEO of Chainproof. Thanks a lot for joining us, first of all.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. To start off, maybe you can talk a little bit about Chainproof and your vision, overall vision.
Yeah, sure. Would love to. So, Chainproof is the world's first regulated insurance provider, insurance carrier for smart, non-custodial smart contract and slashing risks. We're regulated by the Bermuda Monetary Authority. We're licensed there. One of our biggest investors is Sompo, which is Japan's second largest insurance company. And we're proud to be reinsured by the world's largest reinsurance company called Munich Re. So that's Chainproof in a nutshell. I can talk about what it means to be like a regulated insurance provider.
Yeah, maybe start by that. What's regulated versus non-regulated?
Right. So I think like this is something that is a bit vague in the space because there's not been any regulated providers advertising what the difference is. And this is pretty clear to TradFi companies like banks or pension funds. But the main difference is the fact that the insurance policies that we hand out to our customers are actually legal contracts. And if our customers are not happy with the insurance process, for instance, like the claims handling, they can take that legal contract to court, right? So if anything bad happens on our side, they have a legal guarantee there. So it couldn't happen that we would simply refuse to pay out a claim because we don't want to, right? It's just not possible. Like we would get sued for it, right? And this is one of the main differences when it comes to like between regulated insurance and unregulated crypto cover. Of course, there's more because the regulator wants to put some guardrails on, the insurance provider, which means like we cannot sell the insurance in any jurisdiction that we choose, right? Each jurisdiction has their own rules, and we need to abide by those rules. But another advantage that we have as a regulated insurance provider is that we can be reinsured by traditional reinsurance companies such as Munich Re. And the way in which it works, like with insurance, you're basically, accepting or migrating part of the risk from the ecosystem, like staking or Web3 in general, to an insurance provider. And reinsurance is basically an insurance provider migrating part of the risk to a reinsurance provider.
Yeah.
Reinsurance is a huge business, right? Munich Re has probably above 50 billion in yearly revenue, right? Which is much more than, what we can ever, write at the moment. So this is a huge guarantee for any traditional institution or a traditional institutional investor looking to either stake in Web3, with the staking provider, or even deposit funds into smart contracts or buy stable coins. We can provide insurance for that, and we can get reinsurance from one of these traditional companies. And those are basically, I would say, the main differences between, regulated insurance and unregulated coverage.
Yeah, I guess just having that backup is a real assurance for someone going to you, right?
Yes.
And so essentially being regulated means that you don't rely just on the word of the guys handling. There's legal, a legal base that people can follow through if they feel that they were not being
treated correctly.
Yeah,
yes.
Treated correctly. Exactly that. I'm sure you've heard of cases where that happened. So I mean, not naming names or anything, but I'm sure that that's happened because when there's not a legal base, that will happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
So how do you go from that? So you have this insurance. What are the requirements for someone looking to get insured on their products?
Right. That's a very good question. And in the beginning, I mentioned that we offer both smart contract, hack insurance, and slashing insurance.
Yeah.
So for both of these products, we do a security review. In the case of smart contracts, these security reviews are typically called security audits. where we go through the code line by line and check if there are vulnerabilities in there, and we point those vulnerabilities out to the project such that they can address them before we ever insure the smart contract. Right?
Okay.
So we do something similar for slashing. We've basically created something which we call an infrastructure audit, which focuses on slashing issues. And you can see this similar to, staking providers nowadays are trying to get SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certificates, right? And those certificates are great. They look for, security issues such as, confidentiality of keys, or integrity of the logs, or availability of their servers, right? They check all of that. One thing that they don't check, because it was not there when they were invented, are Web3 specific issues, right? And that's where we come in with our infrastructure audit. We check exactly those complementary issues that have to do with risks of slashing, such as, we check is the persistence flag of the anti-slashing database always enabled when you spin up a Docker container, right? So we basically get access to the configuration files of the infrastructure. It's different for different slashing providers. Some of them might use Terraform, Ansible, some of them might use Kubernetes or not, some of them might use some kind of other orchestration, some of them might use HashiCorp for key management, some of them might use something different. Everything has a configuration, right? And we look at that configuration to see if it's proper, right? We check against industry best practices when it comes to security, and we do this in both like a combined automated and manual way. And then based on that result, we create another report where the customer can basically address the issues before they're qualified to be insured.
Oh, okay. This is super interesting, and it's so great that you're kind of legitimizing the space, right? Because this feels so much more professional than some guy doing, I did an audit, and it's and now this is something goes through all the steps as a legal backing, as a financial backing, so everything is really secure. That's
and compliant. Yeah,
which is kind of important, I would say. Do you feel that the industry is moving towards that? Do you feel the interest rising in these insurance systems?
We do, yes, and we're really happy to see that, because institutional adoption is one step closer to mainstream, right? When the institutions become comfortable investing in this space because there's more regulation and there's more rules, I think that's when the masses get access to it as well, maybe indirectly, because the institutions that we're talking about, like banks or pension funds or TradFi institutions, they have access to really like billions of end users, and that's why I'm saying it's one step closer to institutional adoption. And happily, we're seeing more and more customers coming to us because they have potential institutional customers that need to see regulated insurance, like this entity that we're insuring by regulated insurance.
Yeah, that's super great, man. I'm really glad you guys are doing this. I feel like you were going in the right direction.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit more specific about staking, and a little more broad. You are here. I'm sure you've been following the staking space, and how it's been growing.
Yeah.
What do you feel are the next steps in staking, and like the next innovations that we can expect? If you can give a little insight to what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, like one thing that I'm super excited about that happened just this year, I think, and it's still happening. It hasn't like gone full force. Is of course DVT.
Yeah.
So like we're super excited about it. We're working with both OBOL and SSV, right? There are customers, not necessarily not yet for insurance purposes, but for the security auditing purposes. So that's something which I think is going to make the space more secure, from a slashing perspective, and also allow it to scale more.
Yeah, much more inviting as well, right?
Yes.
If you can handle this
Exactly.
in this way. It's been great because I've been hearing about this technology, how it works. Super amazing.
Yeah.
So I agree with it. It's been a really exciting year, and that we're still seeing the birth of it, so to speak.
Yeah, totally. And from our security perspective, we're of course also excited about the fact that validators are becoming more and more open to be monitored.
Yeah.
You know, because once we insure a product, we also want to make sure, you know, that they keep being secure, you know, and not just secure during the audit and then start doing stuff, right?
Of course.
So we're happy to see like solutions out there that are addressing this need for us as well as for like validators, of course.
I guess it's a symptom of the space maturing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in the beginning everyone was so anonymous and because it was how the space was, but now we're seeing the potential of growth and like institution coming in, and you guys like this professional setup that we can actually rely on everyone and trust each other to make like this really grow and flow. So yeah, I agree with you, and it's really great insight over there. So I think to wrap things up, the only thing I would like to ask is like, are you enjoying the Staking Summit? And what are you most excited about it?
Yeah, it's the first time when we're here, you know, and it's amazing. You know, like one thing that we really like is the fact that it's not extremely large. Like for instance, comparing to, you know, what happened at Token 2049, where there were like multiple floors and people didn't even get to see each other. You didn't even get to see all the booths, and you know, like you got out of there with a feeling like, oh, you know, like what happened, right? Did I miss anything? Here, like it feels like the community is way more welcoming, and you know, like we were just talking with my co-founder that here, you know, you get people introducing you to even their competitors.
Oh yeah.
You know, like our customers are introducing us to their competitors, which would never happen maybe, you know, in another setting where people are way more adversarial. Here it seems like it's more like a familiar, you know, like atmosphere where people are friendly, they're trying to explore, and people are really focused on the technology aspect. And we're not talking about so much about tokens, you know, like
that's so good, right? Yeah, it's so good when we have this kind of open conversation about technology and the future and how it goes. Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm really glad that you're enjoying, and I hope you get to see more of you, and next year we'll be here again.
Yeah, hope to be there next year. Thanks
you
so
a lot,
much.
man.
Have a nice one.